saying that they like my style. Wanna know how I do it? I smile. While you were out there saying hey, hi, hello, I was getting dressed up in shades of yellow.
Hello.
Hi. This is unusual.
Yes, hello from your upstairs bedroom.
I know, literally. It didn't really occur to me that we couldn't do like both of us looking into the same webcam and doing it. Do you know what I mean? So that was quite a weird situation. But welcome to my upstairs bedroom. I'm so pleased that your neck held up this time and you're able to make it down here.
I made it, yeah. I just got out of the car about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
After my 3-hour drive. I'm happy to be here.
Well, obviously for everyone that knows us well as a company, we all know that Leah is my full-time digital marketing manager, but it's maybe less apparent that she lives in Leicestershire. So actually we don't spend that much time together, and I think this is why the podcast has been quite easy, because we do spend a really stupid amount of time on the phone to each other, talking through all sorts of things, work related, personal, what we've seen on the internet we like this week, things like that. So I think that's why the podcast doesn't actually feel that much of a stretch.
Okay, shall we introduce ourselves?
Yeah. Yes. I'm Emma Marshall. I am the MD of Miss Bush, and this is
Leah Spicer-Pownall, and I'm the marketing manager of Miss Bush. And this is the Lovely Job podcast.
It is the Lovely Job podcast, named after a very often heard phrase in bridal retail stores, which is "this must be a lovely job." Everyone's so happy all of the time, and absolutely, that's our absolute aim. So this blog. Oh my God, what is it? The like naughties. This podcast has been set up to look at the personal and professional side of running a bridal shop, also the trade side and the bride side. So those two things can sometimes be quite different. The good bits, the bad bits, the bloody fantastic bits, and basically everything about working in the wedding dress world. So that's the premise.
Amazing. So shall we? Yes. Shall we start with some lovely things that you want to talk about?
Yes, lovely things. As she says, going for a glass of wine. Now, we're actually recording this on a Sunday late afternoon / moving towards the early evening. So the fact I've got a glass of wine in my hand is not a bad thing. It's not a Monday morning. So that is just...
No, we do usually record on a Monday morning.
Yeah, so don't think this is my Monday habit. That would be bad. So yeah, lovely things this week. I mean, just a little, I've been still quite busy socially this week. I had a very lovely Thai, like I would say like not a meal out, but a bite to eat. Found a really cute little Thai cafe. Just looks like your Thai mum's cooking for you. You know, one of those cash only, no license, bring your own alcohol things. So we did that on Friday night before going to see the country's premier Smiths tribute band, called the Smiths, but with a Y in the middle of it, which was very fun. So I've been like torturing William. It was happening nothing. So I've been torturing people all week with my absolutely terrible singing, and also with a terrible Morrissey impression thrown into boot. So I'm really, really bad at singing, but I had a very lovely time, I have to say. Marshy doesn't like to go anywhere near up the front for a band, so I managed to wend my way to the front and was dancing very enthusiastically to the UK's leading Morrissey tribute band, Smith tribute band. So yeah, it was really good. But actually, most lovely things this week have been work related, and we've had, I guess, probably the big headline information is we've had new dresses in, which have come in the, you know, I've been begging them to be here and praying that the gods of importers didn't mess up this week. So we've got new dresses from both Suzanne Neville and Sophie of Voila have arrived, which is really, really exciting. They're actually behind me in these bags here because we've got a shoot that we're doing tomorrow at Cowdrey. So I've packed up everything new and fabulous to take onto the shoot. And I've got 2 new dresses from Suzanne Neville, which are amazing. We've got one called Foxglove, and we've got one called Miltonia. So, okay, this all sounds a bit weird names for dresses, but I think broadly speaking, this year's Suzanne Neville collection is all named after flowers. So we've had hotels and we've had composers and now we've got flowers. And it is a really, really hard job to actually name wedding dress collections because you kind of, we'll get onto it. We get to the Sophie of Voila ones. You can't. Sometimes people's names have got like connotations, so it's unlike anyone is marrying someone who has an ex-girlfriend called Miltonia.
One of my favourite ever dresses was called Alan. Do you remember?
Yeah, the Maggie Soterio Allen. I'm not even sure that's improved with an American accent. Or Allah. I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny old game naming wedding dresses. So, but I feel like with Jesus Perret, they've got like serial numbers effectively, which is a bit like a car registration number. You can tell what year it's from because it's got the prefix, the year prefixing the actual serial number. But yeah, Foxglove and Miltonia are here. And if anybody does have an ex-girlfriend called Miltonia, I'd love to know. But so basically, let me just talk you through the fantasticness of these dresses. I'm sure that when Leah puts together the post podcast information, there will be pictures of them. And of course, we're going to photograph them tomorrow. So basically, Foxglove is a very, very closely related dress to Rosewood, which came from the Hotels collection, and Degas, which was from last year's sort of Composers collection. I think it's called Symphony, actually. So it's a absolute classic Suzanne Neville. So you've got the bias draping in crepe, with obviously the kind of new, very directional dropped V waist in it, still retaining the one leg split. So it's quite got that. It really leans into that sort of glamorous evening wear side of Suzanne Neville's collection. And it's got the very popular dropped drape sleeves. And this dropped drape sleeve thing is, firstly, this drop drape sleeve is a real perfect illustration of the confliction that I have between body positivity and what I know girls want to cover up. So basically, there's two parts of people's bodies that they all moan about. And I'm probably guilty of it myself. Firstly, it's top arms, and specifically not just the top arm on the outside, but the top arm where your top of your arm bends into the side of your boob and you have a natural crease where your armpit is. Apparently, in wedding world, that crease is absolute a no. So I don't know whether you should, like, if we were like stereotypical Barbie, we could just have our arms molded so they were slightly out to the side so we didn't get that crease. But that crease is an absolute, people don't love it. They want it covered up. And I think depending on people's anatomy, that crease can be quite creasy. Well, not that creasy, but everyone wants it gone. So basically taking the little side drapes across the top of the arm effectively obscures the crease where your arm bends. And as I say, I know that's the kind of thing that people will be like, how else are you going to move your arm?
One of my favourite things that you've ever said is that arms are made for carrying things and hugging each other. And I always thought that was really nice. Like, we couldn't do those things without the crease.
Yeah, without that crease. And it always reminds me of the bit in the Barbie film where where Barbie takes off her shoes and her feet go flat and everyone's
Flat
like,
feet.
So you're supposed to, yeah. So I feel like everyone would be quite happy if their arm was like a Barbie foot. Do you know what I mean? So that you had a sort of permanently sculpted plasticky arm at the top. Until that phenomena happens, and I don't know, even if there's surgery that you can get to have that done, until that point, there is the little top, like shoulder drape thing. And of course, these kind of hang-ups that people have are literally in their head. However, we've got a lot of work to do on body positivity. It's an ongoing process, and until we're there, let's just drape a piece of fabric over the top of the arm. So that it's got those, and now everybody's going to be really looking hard at that. So it's got that. It's got the inner corsetry, obviously, so it sculpts beautifully, and as I say, the new little drop waist thing. But again, the skirt on the bottom also drapes as well, right across the lower abdomen. Which, if you had to pinpoint another area that people always like freak out about in wedding dress trying on is the part of a woman's body between the lower part of the belly button and the top of your bikini line, which in every woman that I ever see is soft. You can't put a spirit level on there and get that spirit level bubble to go in the middle. So what you need in bridal is just really beautifully cut dresses. And if you are really freaking out about that part, then a really good solution is to drape on the bias some fabric across that. And you may well have no abdomen whatsoever. You certainly don't have any hip bones. And as someone, myself, who's got like 3 kids, so the relevant stretch marks for that, an appendix scar and a hip replacement scar. I mean, I would probably be the same if I was wearing head to toe ivory. I'd probably want a little dress equivalent of, Vaseline on the lens, just blurring some of those areas. So you get the sculpt, you get the silhouette, very slim, very structured, but it's got those 2 areas. It's got your back, basically. So that's the foxglove. So that's come in. It's beautiful. And then the other one that we've got is the Miltonia, which is, as I say, an orchid, apparently. I actually had to look up that. I just thought it sounded like a suburb of Portsmouth, actually, but it's an orchid. So that is a very classic Suzanne Neville dress as well. It is, I said to someone the other day, and I keep using this now, whenever I find a phrase that I like, I overuse it. But anyway, it feels like with Suzanne Neville dresses that you are dipped in liquid fabric and then dried. And it's got that sort of perfect smoothness that you've been literally almost like sprayed with latex or something. I mean, it's much more comfortable than that. But so the Miltonia has got a very, very signature Suzanne Neville, almost like seamless, strapless crepe corset. It's then got some little bias ribbons just to give waist definition. And then it's got her very classic circular organza skirts, which currently is pristine. And I was like, they arrived just in time for the shoot. And as I say, I've begged. And I was like, under no circumstances is anyone allowed to try this dress on before we photographed it on Monday, because organza is so beautiful when it's new. And then very quickly, people will try it on and they go, oh, this fabric's lovely. And an instant reaction to people feeling that fabric's lovely is to crunch it in their hands. Just to be like, smack people's hands with a ruler like an old-fashioned teacher. It was like, could you unhand that dress? So yeah, so that's one. So the other really, really lovely thing about the Miltonia dress is it's quite neutral. And that sounds very shady to say something's neutral, but neutral is really good because it's going to be classic. It's literally straight out of the 1950s Dior playbook, but it's neutral enough for each bride to bring their own personality to it. So it's a perfect candidate for having an overtop, a cape that's got this amazing capacity to be, styled the way you want it to be styled. And I think one of the requests I've had quite a lot from clients in the chapel is for a sort of neck scarf thing, a shawl. It's not really a shawl because it goes around the front of your neck and then you've got 2 big streaming tails down the back. And I've been mocking this up using one of the dangly separate sleeve things and then pinning 2 different tails to it. So actually over the weekend, I believe that Ben and Adrian, the designer and the artisan from Nautier, are making me one of these to go on the shoot tomorrow. So a neck dangler will be forthcoming. So
amazing. Yeah, I do feel like every time I open my Instagram, every time I open Instagram at the minute, I'm seeing those neck danglers. So I really think that's like a really big thing that's happening at the minute.
Maybe we could do a portmanteau word for it, like a nangler.
Nangler. Latest trend, the nangler.
The nangler. I will come up with something, nangler. And just one thing while we were just before I get on to the Sophie Voila dresses. So they're lovely dresses, lovely thing this week. Not lovely, really something that absolutely gives me the total ick, is when people gender dresses. So she's a lovely dress. It's like it's an inanimate piece of fabric. It's not a she. I mean,
come into the chapel and try her on. Like, I don't want to try anyone on.
no, not a she. And also, if we were going to gender dresses, some of them would definitely be theys, and some might be he's as well. So, like the she, like I just can't bear it. It's such an F. She's amazing. She's a stunner. She's this. It's just a bit like no. No. This is like the 21st century. I think we've moved beyond she. So anyway, so she dresses ick, naff, naff, naff. Can't bear it at all. She's a lovely dress. Ooh. Anyway, but moving on to the Sophie et Voila dresses, they I've had 4 new dresses in from them. We're big fans, aren't we, Leah, of the Sophie
We
et
are
Voila?
very big fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
well, every year they have a letter. So last year it was a G. The year before that was an F. And so this year we've got K's for their names. And we did mention them briefly last week as well because you loved one of them a lot, didn't you?
I do. I love one that's called
And
Karen.
what's she called?
She is called Karen. She definitely wants to speak to the manager.
Oh no! Apologies to anyone called Karen that might be listening.
I know. I don't know where that came from.
Yes.
But basically, yeah, so we've got the 4 new dresses from these guys. Now, I only buy quite lightly from Sophie et Voila because if I had a boss, they would probably say to me, do you think we're getting enough return on the investment we make in these dresses? Which would be a reasonable question. And my answer to that would have to be no. But so basically, I just love them. And I think if we have very solidly, beautifully cut commercial dresses from Suzanne Neville and Jesus Perot, there is scope for me to support brands that I just love. And that they do sell, but probably not enough to actually, you couldn't run a whole business selling them. But anyway, I've got 4 new dresses from Sophie et Voila, made in Bilbao. This collection's called the Titanium Collection, and somewhere slightly, I think slightly, it does explain that that's something to do with the Basque skies or Basque granite. I can't remember. It's Basque. There's something Basque about it. Anyway, so Karen, my favourite. Haven't put it on a real person yet, so I don't know how it's going to go. But though I've got all 4 of them to put on our model at the shoot tomorrow. Karen is a completely ruler straight crepe A-line with no waist definition whatsoever. So it's like wearing a capital A. I think it's going to be an amazing dress to go with some beautiful jewellery that we've got from, I've got some Jesus Perot jewellery. I am getting seriously expensive jewellery from Barbara Tipple, like literal fine jewellery, diamonds. You see me like I'll be bye driving away with some diamonds. And I've got some Freya Rose necklaces, which are really lovely. And I've picked up a really cute little necklace this morning, which I will put into our show notes as well, from a local artisan in Southsea. So we've got Karen, who I think is, like, if you had family jewels, that is the dress that you could have. But possibly I might see it for a, like a Sunday dress, a like night before dress, a dancing dress. I'm still think that people are quite addicted to like cinching their waists. So that I just love it though. Then we've got Kuma, Kuma, which is basically like a t-shirt top, like a sleeveless t-shirt, almost like tucked into her sarong skirt. So ultimate casual. Again, I could see this possibly being a very laid back overseas wedding dress. I could see it being maybe a civil service dress, a second dress, like a brunch, a rehearsal dinner. It's really, really lovely. And then it's got a sort of sister dress. Maybe if they can't be gendered, they can't have sisters either. Oh, that's gonna now the ideology of that's gonna really mess with my head. But Chris, spelt like a Kardashian Chris, Kris, is effectively a sarong. It's strapless and draped, and it looks like a sarong, but a bridal sarong.
This is my favourite.
Is it? Well, maybe we could try it on later. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Before or after the roast potatoes?
Yeah, I really want to do a reel with it using. There's a trending. There's a trending sound on Instagram, which is a clip from the Kardashians, and it's I don't know who's saying it, but they're going, "Oh, Chris, it's perfect," and I'm going to use that sound when I share it on Instagram.
Is that the bit where Chris has like sorted out her like plates?
Yeah, I
She's
think
like,
so.
isn't it
Yeah,
some kind of like Marie Kondo moment? Yeah. Anyway.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've not
So,
actually watched it, but I've seen the clip.
but there's also so there's also another dress in from this one called Carmen, which is a crew necked, long sleeved, literally unapologetically uber minimalist nun dress. Which I just love. And when I say nun dress, that's no dissing or disrespect to nuns or anybody that chooses a nun dress, but sometimes people's general hotness is increased 100% by wearing a dress that shows absolutely nothing but a beautiful face. So I think this will be a great one to try on our model tomorrow, just to see how that works. But again, it's kind of interesting. I haven't put these on at any real brides yet because I was like super protecting them to keep them clean. But yeah, so gorgeous. And we'll be playing with those at the shoot tomorrow, which is really good.
Yes, I cannot wait.
Yes.
Amazing. So I've got some lovely things to share because we've had some really nice comments this week from real brides. So we had a message that said, thank you, this answered all of my questions about lead times since ordering my dress. Another bride has said, I found it super helpful. I've just started the hunt for my wedding dress, and honestly, I've had nightmares about waking up in my wedding day and realizing I have no dress, so I was getting really anxious. So it's really nice to see that it's actually helping real brides. And so if you're a real bride listening, please send us a message because it made our day, didn't it, to see those.
Yeah, and I've had some lovely messages from like friends in the trade. Carol Ann, who we're working with tomorrow, who's the hair and makeup artist tomorrow, has been listening to a podcast in the gym. She really, really liked it. Marion, who's our agent from Jesus Pero, loved it as well. She thought it was really amazing. And also all credit to Leah, really, because the way Leah manages to edit things and put the music on, it sounds professional. And also you can see if you're watching this, I not have just a ring light now and headphones. I've also got a new webcam, so you can actually see me. So every week I'm getting more tech about this. But yeah, we've had some really really good feedback about it. So thank you to obviously Leah for like making me finally do this, because it's been on our to-do list for a long time. We also, I think, had a question, didn't we?
Yes, we did have a question. I'm going to find it for you now and read it out. So somebody has said, I'm wondering if you could cover the topic, what to do or how to approach it when nobody else likes the dress that you've picked. So you really love your dress, but your mum doesn't like it, your friends aren't keen. What do you do?
Oh God, it's a toughie, isn't it? Because it's really tough, because you want to walk down the aisle not thinking that people that are near and dear to you actively hate your choice. But there's so much to unpack here. So personally, on the whole, I would say 98.5% of the time, people that come with brides to choosing appointments, dress fittings, are lovely. They are supportive and they understand that they're there to support the bride's choices. Perhaps jump in if there was some ghastly dress brought forth. But generally speaking, if you have picked your shops well, and you're not, you should find that shop's taste and your taste align, and probably more or less align with, say, a mum or a friend or something. However, there are some people who I've witnessed some behaviours from mothers and friends, which is not even nice. It's just not nice. And it's quite hard, because I think people feel obliged to bring like mothers and friends sometimes that they would rather not. Not every mother-daughter relationship is a dream. So I think it really is about, firstly, I would look and consider when you're bringing someone to ask their opinion, whether you whether you really want to hear it. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But like, it's not. But also, I have got friends who I love dearly, whose taste in clothes is not my own, and I again have used an example or just a little story to brides in the shop and saying that if I spilt something on myself at one of my friends' houses, I'd rather go home naked or in a towel than borrow any of her clothes. Sounds really bitchy, but it's like, I don't think therefore it they would be able to kind of like understand my taste or get on board with my taste, because my taste is different. Or as we found out from the internet, I look like Wednesday Addams grown up, or one of the twins out of The Shining. But nevertheless, it's my taste, and so my taste doesn't really need anybody else's approval. It's also a very weird thing, just asking anybody what they think of a wedding dress, when as an adult woman you don't ask anybody else what you should wear at any other time in your life. And I think that the opinion about what you wear can sometimes be an externalization of other relationship things that are going on there, so that can be quite tricky. If you're also in a shop that you trust the advice of the stylist and things like that. I mean, I professionally will not let anyone look crap. It's just it's a professional point of view. So somebody might not like it. The one thing I find in Bush, and I've had a couple of instances of it this year, are people are kind of disappointed about how plain our dresses are. And like, okay, they're not plain, but if somebody's idea of a wedding dress is very decorative, with sort of, scalloped lace, decorative trains or lace all over it or beads or something, then that can be quite a point of contention. Also, people are absolutely, utterly obsessed with thinness and waist size, which is, so like, I know I just talked about that armpit bends or like the soft part of your lower abdomen, but I feel like I can deal with that. You can just be like, okay, so we'll if we have a soft part of our lower abdomen, we'll just put a Jesus Perry pleated skirt on, or we'll do a slight A-line, or we will do a drape. You don't have to know that you've got an abdomen at all if you don't want to. But the obsession that some people's friends go, it doesn't show your figure enough. You should wear something skin tight. It's like, shut up. Just, you're not walking down the aisle to get somebody else's approval on your figure. So I think that there's quite a lot of there's a lot in play there. If someone doesn't like your wedding dress choice, it could be a matter of taste difference. If someone likes pretty decorative, sparkly things and you don't, there is never going to be a consensus on that. The thing I say quite a lot in the shop is, don't go for a democratic vote on your wedding dress, because democracy gives us Liz Truss. So think about that. So we don't really want a democratic vote. But it is quite hard to like not hear what you want. And the other thing is, I think also not getting crying can be sometimes something that people are a bit bothered about. It's like, but my mum didn't cry. It's like, it's likely your mum is menopausal or postmenopausal. You can't really predict that shit. So, and also we're British and we're Northern European and we're quite buttoned up. So like the ready, easy tears of the very kind of emotionally upfront American like mums, and maybe that you might see and say yes to the dress, is really not very British. I mean, we're stoic, stiff upper lip, that kind of stuff. I don't think that's been really come out. It hasn't come out of our psyche yet. So there's also that kind of thing. So there's so many layers in that question. And I guess really after sort of 30 years of seeing things like that, it's quite difficult. And also, if you are you're being invited to somebody else's wedding dress appointment, it's just, don't be rude. I mean, I literally have I remember one time when I had a bride and she loved a dress. It was the first time we had that crossback Jesus Perry dress, and we had it in cotton piqué. And she loved it, and she brought her sister to see it, and her sister was just annihilated her and the dress. And I was like, don't. Just don't. Do you know what I mean? If someone's excited to show you something, then there are nice ways to be like, I can see you love it. I mean, what? Oh my God, I've literally gone through this with my kids' counselors. Validation. You've got to validate people's feelings. Don't be a bitch. Like literally just don't. Validate that person's feelings. If they love themselves in it, validate those feelings before you start to attack, because find out what they love about it. Find out their thoughts. Don't just be nasty. And I can't really I know we all went around, like you have those kind of memes, everyone saying be kind, but really wedding dress shopping is one of those times when being kind is just so important, because there's so much sensitivity and so much at stake. Do you think it was enough? That's quite a long answer. I don't know if I actually gave an answer whether or not you should take notice of those. It's quite hard, isn't it? Should you take notice?
Just ignore them.
Yeah. It's ignore them. But I think I'd rather speak to the people that are going with the bride rather than the bride. Like the person was like, it's like, do you know what I mean? This is like, if someone looks genuinely terrible in a dress, then I think it's quite, nice to be able to kind of, gently lead them away from that. But the emphasis on gently, because it's very hard for a bride to hear whether it's the dress or her. And quite often a criticism of a dress will be perceived as or will be heard as a criticism for the person. So I think quite a lot of this should be down to the guests that you take. So that is a thing. Okay, do we have any more questions? Helpful. I quite like a question.
Yes, please, more questions, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I think we can't do this week's podcast without talking about the big celebrity wedding that's been everywhere this week, which was Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh my God, she looked an absolute babe.
Yeah, and she had 4 wedding dresses. So which one was your favourite?
Well, I think we agree on this, on the whole, the Valentino vintage. It reminded me of the dress that Wednesday Addams wore in the series Wednesday, when she does her Goo Goo Muck dance, her prom. I would say, I love all things gothic, but there's that kind of good fairy, bad fairy look, and it was the kind of good fairy look of the bad fairy. So I loved it. I just thought that was so interesting. And also, it's kind of sparked a bit of an interest in me in adding, dare I say it, a bit of a lace accent to some custom pieces. So watch this space. After being a bit of a lace denier for some time, I think there might be I've got an idea of how to add it to something new we're creating, and I think it would be lovely. So watch this space. But yeah,
sounds very
overall,
exciting.
Yeah, but it's interesting also to see that many dresses. It's quite a new phenomena that we're seeing quite a lot, that brides are now shopping for a wardrobe, not a dress. And it is, I think, driven quite hard by, high profile celebrity brides. And I think that look is, it's kind of good, but there's a couple of things I fear about it in terms of whether or not people will compromise on a look in order to buy 4 looks. And we've always had the criticism leveled at the bridal industry quite often. It's like, I can't believe people would spend this much money for one day or one dress. And now you're like, but, and the 5 dresses, so it's creating, in a time when we're talking a lot about sustainability and ethics, it's creating more dresses for more things. So that's kind of an interesting aside. However, from a commercial point of view, yay, happy day. Get all the dresses, do have a Suzanne Neville, do have a Sophie Everard, do have a Jesus Perot all at the same time. So I love that as well, because on the whole, most of those things are coming from really cool independent designers. And, it's great for our business to see so many. Firstly, it's interesting. I think it's interesting to see weddings always still being front and center of people's life. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown's not even that old, is she? So,
No.
and she's totally married a bit of a Nepo boy as well. So, but I think it's really interesting in a time when you're actually looking at contracting bridal numbers, that the institution of marriage in itself is still visible and celebrated, and it's very fashionable, because I think we were all worried, any of us that worked in the wedding industry during COVID, there was a lot of conversation, mostly unfounded by really stupid journalists, that would be it. Weddings were over, they wouldn't be seen again. And actually, arguably, with things like that and the Barney wedding, and there's several other celeb weddings that have gone on this year, like Rebel Wilson just got married, Vicky Patterson. There's still a lot of appetite for people to really celebrate and really go to town on one of life's most important events. So I think it's good for business. Very happy about that.
Yes. Okay, right. We're at 38 minutes. Do you want to continue? Should we have another topic, or are we going to try and keep it to our 40 minutes? I'd like to know what other people think. How do you feel about the length of time? If you think 40 minutes is a good amount, if it is an hour too much, give us some feedback. But yeah, Emma,
I think it's quite good. Well, I mean, the thing is, we've got, a rack of dresses behind me. I've got my dining table is stacked full of accessories, shoes, things for the shoot tomorrow. So my kind of feeling is that we will be good to ourselves, and we will like round out at 40, because we've also got to come up with so just maybe the listeners might be interested to hear this, but when you do a shoot or you're creating content, everybody wants their own angle on it. So it's quite an interesting exercise. It is quite creative, but it's also a lot of money. So the photographers are a lot of money. The models are a lot of money. You're taking up a lot of people's time. There's going to be quite a big crew on site. So we need to go in there with a fairly clear idea of what we want to achieve from the look. And our brief to ourselves for this shoot is classic Miss Bush bride. Now, classic Miss Bush bride doesn't mean sort of a trope. It means, what do we know that our brides love, and how are we going to put it together? And also, Cowdrey themselves have got some asks. They would like to sort of really show a bride what it would look like to get ready there, some places they could really enjoy as a family or with friends. The weather looks like it's going to be shocking. So I feel like we need to be inside. So we've got the lighting to deal with as well. So there's quite a lot of interest. It's a full-on day of work. And whilst it sounds like one of the most creative parts of the day, I mean, we barely get to do like maybe 3 or 4 content days a year. So it's one of the things that looks very glamorous, but there's a huge amount of money invested in it, a huge amount of time. So I think sensibly, Leah and I should probably give ourselves a bit if we've got a limited amount of time, which dresses are we going to shoot? The model that we've picked is a fairly standard size. So in theory, she should fit the samples that I've picked. We've got a general overriding thought going through to the new silhouettes, the drop waists, whether those are blunt drop waist or pointy drop waists. So there's all that sort of stuff to do. So there's quite a lot of us. I mean, so that is quite interesting. At some point, if anybody wanted to know what our process is like, then that is quite interesting. So, but I think probably rather than going headlong into another major topic, we should probably write our brief for tomorrow, so that we go on site looking really professional.
Yes, and I can also smell Marshy's roast potatoes cooking downstairs, and my stomach's rumbling. So we need to have dinner as well at some point this evening.
Yeah, the lovely Marshy is in the kitchen cooking up a beef and Guinness casserole, roast potatoes, roast parsnips, and I think there's a vegan option as well, which is some kind of tray baked cauliflower and chickpea something, almost like an Indian tray bake. So there is a vegan option as well. So well, that's another podcast altogether. That's
cooking with Marshy.
Cooking with Marshy, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so lovely to have you here, though, and I really hope people continue to listen to the podcast because we're really enjoying it. It's legitimizing just gassing,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah, and it's a great start to the week. I think it just really sets me up for the rest of the week to just start off doing something so fun. Yes.
Well, we
So
were talking, weren't we, when this said it's the sort of thing that like you're supposed to do in mindfulness, like gratitude, intentions, all that kind of stuff. So, I know what we have forgotten completely to say. Oh my God, we're so unprofessional. Talking about the new Suzanne Neville thing, we basically need to be like, brides, watch this space. We've got a Suzanne Neville designer day coming up on Saturday, the 9th of November. So if you've been into us and you've tried Suzanne Neville on and you're like ready to make a decision, that's a perfect day to come. And other brides who haven't been into us that might like to see the new collection, one of the first people to see it. And really, we've got some amazing sponsorship for the event as well. The goodie bag that you're going to get from this one is off the scale. So
amazing.
if you want to get an
Watch this
invite,
space.
yeah, absolutely. I can't believe we've got to mention that. It's so bad.
Well, I think we've tried to cram so much in today. We've got so much to talk about, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we'll sign off now, and we will look out on our Instagram feed to tomorrow for like some behind the scenes sneak peeks of our shoot.
Yes, amazing. Right. Yeah, I can't remember
See
how we're
you
going to
next
end
week.
it. So just goodbye.
I think it was like, see you next week. See you next week. Bye.
I don't know. Goodbye.
Bye.